All right, we're recording, Dorothy?
Yes.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you. And this is Connie, and we're here for our Tuesday night Zoom, and I want to welcome everybody here. And we took a little time before we got started to get everybody introduced, so we didn't have to spend the time for those watching this recorded, and we look forward to hearing your comments below the video tomorrow as you watch it and as you learn. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. All righty, the habit champions, that's what we're all about. We're all about nutrition and sleep and hydrating, exercise and stress. And our whole intention is to help those that want the help to live a full and better life. Tonight we're going to be covering stress. And I'll start the reading and I'll rely on other people for a little bit more. It's not much that's going on. Our stress response. When you change your mind about stress, you can change your body's response to stress. In everything, there you go, the mindset again, right? In everything, there's always the good and the bad side. Stress becomes bad when it becomes chronic. Chronic in a sense that it persists for a long period of time. When you keep thinking about the same problem or issue over time, it not only takes a toll on your energy, but on your health and your wellness. Stress is actually the brain's way of responding to a fight or flight situation dating back during the evolutionary period, which allows us to survive in a life-threatening situation. In the first chapter of Dr. A's Habits of Health, he talks about the saber-toothed tiger and of the real dangers that existed in those days. It was common for people not to even reach 20 because of the perils that existed. And that same stress response that existed back then is now in our life today as evolution works. And now we don't have the life-threatening stress we had back then, but the stress that we do have gives us the same response. And because of that, it's creating a lot of disease in our body. How to make stress your friend and condition your mind to achieve peak performance. We're all about getting better. Stress today is not the saber-toothed tiger. It can be public speaking like this. Yes, I feel a little bit of stress, but it dissipates as I forget that we're doing this and I'm recording it and I calm down. People's finances can create a huge amount of stress for them. There's a few people in this room that traffic is a big issue for them. Spouses, family, you could have the death of a loved one. Illness, obesity can be very stressful, or someone that's in the process of getting an education. This is a talk on stress, and we'll go ahead and start it now. Everybody let me know that you're here.
I have a confession to make. But first, I want you to make a little confession to me. In the past year, I want you to just raise your hand if you've experienced relatively little stress. Anyone? How about a moderate amount of stress? Who's experienced a lot of stress? Yeah, me too. But that is not my confession. My confession is this. I'm a health psychologist, and my mission is to help people be happier and healthier. But I fear that something I've been teaching for the last 10 years is doing more harm than good. And it has to do with stress. For years, I've been telling people stress makes you sick. It increases the risk of everything from the common cold to cardiovascular disease. Basically, I've turned stress into the enemy. But I've changed my mind about stress. And today, I want to change yours. Let me start with the study that made me rethink my whole approach to stress. This study tracked 30,000 adults in the United States for 8 years. And they started by asking people, how much stress have you experienced in the last year? They also asked, do you believe that stress is harmful for your health? And then they used public death records to find out who died. Okay. some bad news first. People who experienced a lot of stress in the previous year had a 43% increased risk of dying. But that was only true for the people who also believed that stress is harmful for your health. People who experienced a lot of stress but did not view stress as harmful were no more likely to die. In fact, they had the lowest risk of dying of anyone in the study, including people who had relatively little stress. Now, the researchers estimated that over the 8 years they were tracking deaths, 182,000 Americans died prematurely, not from stress, but from the belief that stress is bad for you. That is over 20,000 deaths a year. Now, if that estimate is correct, that would make believing stress is bad for you the 15th largest cause of death in the United States last year, killing more people than skin cancer, HIV, AIDS, and homicide. You can see why this study freaked me out. Here I've been spending so much energy telling people stress is bad for your health. So this study got me wondering, can changing how you think about stress make you healthier? And here the science says yes. When you change your mind about stress, you can change your body's response to stress. Now, to explain how this works, I want you all to pretend that you are participants in a study designed to stress you out. It's called the social stress test. You come into the laboratory and you're told you have to give a 5-minute impromptu speech on your personal weaknesses to a panel of expert evaluators sitting right in front of you. And to make sure you feel the pressure, there are bright lights and a camera in your face, kind of like this. And the evaluators have been trained to give you discouraging nonverbal feedback, like this. Now that you're sufficiently demoralized, time for part 2, a math test. And unbeknownst to you, the experimenter has been trained to harass you during it. Now, we're going to all do this together. It's going to be fun. For me. Okay. I want you all to count backwards from 996 in increments of 7. You're going to do this out loud as fast as you can, starting with 996. Go. Go faster. Faster, please. You're going too slow. Stop, 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 stop. That guy made a mistake. We're going to have to start all over again. You're not very good at this, are you? Okay, so you get the idea. Now, if you were actually in this study, you'd probably be a little stressed out. Your heart might be pounding, you might be breathing faster, maybe breaking out into a sweat. And normally we interpret these physical changes as anxiety or signs that we aren't coping very well with the pressure. But what if you viewed them instead as signs that your body was energized, was preparing you to meet this challenge? Now, that is exactly what participants were told in a study conducted at Harvard University. Before they went through the social stress test, they were taught to rethink their stress response as helpful. That pounding heart is preparing you for action. If you're breathing faster, it's no problem. It's getting more oxygen to your brain. And participants who learned to view the stress response as helpful for their performance, well, they were less stressed out, less anxious, more confident. But the most fascinating finding to me was how their physical stress response changed. Now, in a typical stress response, your heart rate goes up and your blood vessels constrict like this. And this is one of the reasons that chronic stress is sometimes associated with cardiovascular disease. It's not really healthy to be in this state all the time. But in the study, when participants viewed their stress response as helpful, their blood vessels stayed relaxed like this. Their heart was still pounding, but this is a much healthier cardiovascular profile. It actually looks a lot like what happens in moments of joy and courage. Over a lifetime of stressful experiences, this one biological change could be the difference between a stress-induced heart attack at age 50 and living well into your 90s. And this is really what the new science of stress reveals, that how you think about stress matters. So my goal as a health psychologist has changed. I no longer want to get rid of your stress. I want to make you better at stress. And we just did a little intervention. If you raised your hand and said you'd had a lot of stress in the last year, we could have saved your life. Because hopefully the next time your heart is pounding from stress, you're going to remember this talk, and you're going to think to yourself, this is my body helping me rise to this challenge. And when you view stress in that way, your body believes you, and your stress response becomes healthier. Now, I said I have over a decade of demonizing stress to redeem myself from. So we are going to do one more intervention. I want to tell you about one of the most underappreciated aspects of the stress response. And the idea is this: stress makes you social. To understand this side of stress, we need to talk about a hormone, oxytocin. And I know oxytocin has already gotten as much hype as a hormone can get. It even has its own cute nickname, the cuddle hormone, because it's released when you hug someone. But this is a very small part of what oxytocin is involved in. Oxytocin is a neurohormone. It fine-tunes your brain's social instincts. It primes you to do things that strengthen close relationships. Oxytocin makes you crave physical contact with your friends and family. It enhances your empathy. It even makes you more willing to help and support the people you care about. Some people have even suggested we should snort oxytocin to become more compassionate and caring. But here's what most people don't understand about oxytocin. It's a stress hormone. Your pituitary gland pumps this stuff out as part of the stress response. It's as much a part of your stress response as the adrenaline that makes your heart pound. And when oxytocin is released in the stress response, it is motivating you to seek support. Your biological stress response is nudging you to tell someone how you feel instead of bottling it up. Your stress response wants to make sure you notice when someone else in your life is struggling so that you can support each other. When life is difficult, your stress response wants you to be surrounded by people who care about you. Okay, so how is knowing this side of stress going to make you healthier? Well, oxytocin doesn't only act on your brain, it also acts on your body. And one of its main roles in your body is to protect your cardiovascular system from the effects of stress. It's a natural anti-inflammatory. It also helps your blood vessels stay relaxed during stress. But my favorite effect on the body is actually on the heart. Your heart has receptors for this hormone. And oxytocin helps heart cells regenerate and heal from any stress-induced damage. This stress hormone strengthens your heart. And the cool thing is that all of these physical benefits of oxytocin are enhanced by social contact and social support. So when you reach out to others under stress, either to seek support or to help someone else, you release more of this hormone, your stress response becomes healthier, and you actually recover faster from stress. I find this amazing that your stress response has a built-in mechanism for stress resilience. And that mechanism is human connection. I want to finish by telling you about one more study. And listen up, because this study could also save a life. This study tracked about 1,000 adults in the United States, and they ranged in age from 34 to 93. And they started the study by asking, how much stress have you experienced in the last year? They also asked, how much time have you spent helping out friends, neighbors, people in your community? And then they used public records for the next 5 years to find out who died. Okay, so the bad news first. For every major stressful life experience, like financial difficulties or family crisis, that increased the risk of dying by 30%. But, and I hope you are expecting a but by now, But that wasn't true for everyone. People who spent time caring for others showed absolutely no stress-related increase in dying, 0. Caring created resilience. And so we see once again that the harmful effects of stress on your health are not inevitable. How you think and how you act can transform your experience of stress. When you choose to view your stress response as helpful, you create the biology of courage. And when you choose to connect with others under stress, you can create resilience. Now, I wouldn't necessarily ask for more stressful experiences in my life, but this science has given me a whole new appreciation for stress. Stress gives us access to our hearts. The compassionate heart that finds joy and meaning in connecting with others. And yes, your pounding physical heart working so hard to give you strength and energy. And when you choose to view stress in this way, you're not just getting better at stress, you're actually making a pretty profound statement. You're saying that you can trust yourself to handle life's challenges. And you're remembering that you don't have to face them alone. Thank you. Thank you.
I mean, this is kind of amazing what you're telling us. It seems amazing to me that a belief about stress can make so much difference to someone's life expectancy. How would that extend to advice? Like if someone's making a lifestyle choice between, say, a stressful job and a non-stressful job, does it matter that which way they go, that it's equally wise to go for the stressful job so long as you believe that you can handle it in some sense?
Yeah, and one thing we know for certain is that chasing meaning is better for your health than trying to avoid discomfort. And so I would say that's really the best way to make decisions, is go after what it is that creates meaning in your life and then trust yourself to handle the stress that follows.
Thank you so much, Kelly.
Thank you.
It's really cool.
Okay.
That was,
And we're gonna, everybody enjoyed that?
yeah.
Okay, we'll talk about it shortly.
Are you sleeping restlessly, feeling irritable or moody, forgetting little things, and feeling overwhelmed and isolated? Don't worry, we've all been there. You're probably just stressed out. Stress isn't always a bad thing. It can be handy for a burst of extra energy and focus, like when you're playing a competitive sport or have to speak in public. But when it's continuous, the kind most of us face day in and day out, it actually begins to change your brain. Chronic stress, like being overworked or having arguments at home, can affect brain size, its structure, and how it functions, right down to the level of your genes. Stress begins with something called the hypothalamus-pituitary-adrenal axis, a series of interactions between endocrine glands in the brain and on the kidney, which controls your body's reaction to stress. When your brain detects a stressful situation, your HPA axis is instantly activated and releases a hormone called cortisol, which primes your body for instant action. But high levels of cortisol over long periods of time wreak havoc on your brain. For example, chronic stress increases the activity level and number of neural connections in the amygdala, your brain's fear center. And as levels of cortisol rise, electric signals in your hippocampus, the part of the brain associated with learning, memories, and stress control, deteriorate. The hippocampus also inhibits the activity of the HPA axis, so when it weakens, so does your ability to control your stress. That's not all, though. Cortisol can literally cause your brain to shrink in size. Too much of it results in the loss of synaptic connections between neurons and the shrinking of your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain that regulates behaviors like concentration, decision-making, judgment, and social interaction. It also leads to fewer new brain cells being made in the hippocampus, This means chronic stress might make it harder for you to learn and remember things, and also set the stage for more serious mental problems like depression and eventually Alzheimer's disease. The effects of stress may filter right down to your brain's DNA. An experiment showed that the amount of nurturing a mother rat provides its newborn baby plays a part in determining how that baby responds to stress later in life. The pups of nurturing moms turned out less sensitive to stress because their brains developed more cortisol receptors, which stick to cortisol and dampen the stress response. The pups of negligent moms had the opposite outcome, and so became more sensitive to stress throughout life. These are considered epigenetic changes, meaning that they affect which genes are expressed without directly changing the genetic code. And these changes can be reversed if the moms are swapped. But there's a surprising result. The epigenetic changes caused by one single mother rat were passed down to many generations of rats after her. In other words, the results of these actions were inheritable. It's not all bad news, though. There are many ways to reverse what cortisol does to your stressed brain. The most powerful weapons are exercise and meditation, which involves breathing deeply and being aware and focused on your surroundings. Both of these activities decrease your stress and increase the size of the hippocampus, thereby improving your memory. So don't feel defeated by the pressures of daily life. Get in control of your stress before it takes control of you.
So the effects of stress on your body are not just one tier. It's physical, it's emotional, and it's cognitive. Lisa, would you go ahead and read those?
Physical effects of stress are rapid breathing, rapid heart rate, feeling tense, gastrointestinal problems, can't sleep, exhausted, appetite changes, decreased sexual drive, increased substance abuse. The emotional effects of stress are crying, irritable, angry, feeling overwhelmed, withdrawing from friends, feeling hopeless.
Is she gone?
Frozen.
Okay, and powerless. Cognitive, hard to concentrate, confusion, racing thoughts,
And powerless.
shutting down,
Cognitive is hard to
procrastination, and avoidance. So studies find that meditation strengthens the brain. Early evidence out of UCLA suggested that meditating for years thickens the brain in a good way and strengthens the connections between brain cells. Dorothy, go ahead and read the bottom.
Meditation is to the mind as exercise is to the body. Meditation provides benefits to the mental selves as exercise provides benefits to our physical selves. Meditation is a lifestyle. Meditation is learned just like nutrition and exercise.
Martha Pickering, you want to read?
Oop, let me put my glasses on. All benefits of walking. Lose weight. 2, to a healthy heart. 3, increase self-esteem. 4, tones muscles. 5, increase metabolism. 6, reduce stress. 7, improves your mood. 8, increases energy. 9, decreases chance of injuries. 10, low impact. 11, reduce risk of high blood pressure. And 12, strengthening bones and joints.
Thank you, Marcia. So now we'll get back to us, and I'll just get rid of the screen. We'll go back to each other so we can see each other, and we'll do our feedback session. I really enjoyed this because I know that there's a lot of people in this room that have extreme amount of stress, and then there's other people who have survived stress. Does anyone in this room want to say, like she asked, who this year has had a little bit of stress in their life? Raise your hand. How about a moderate amount of stress in your life? How about an extreme amount of stress in your life? All right. And I could have predicted those answers. And so I found it interesting how she was able to take the latest science on this and show us again how we can control it through the way we think. we'll start our feedback with Tony.
Okay. Well, my biggest stress is just to be driving. When I be driving, I mean, I talk to the drivers. I talk to, we drive. I said, "Why that stupid guy? Come on, why does he do that? Doesn't he know how to drive?" I was doing this all the time. Then why do you do that? And it's that it doesn't change anything. Just you saying that and being upset and getting yourself aggravated because of bad drivers. You can't change it, so why don't you just go with it? So I started doing that. And now I don't scream as much. I still do a little bit. But I oh well, the traffic is bad. That's okay. I'll get there sooner or later. As long as
I
I get
actually
there.
wanted to get him a microphone so people outside could actually hear. But I figured in this day of road rage, that wouldn't be a good thing.
I'm not doing that as much, and I'm really, just the traffic gets bad and people are moving. Well, there's nothing I can do about it, so I might just really enjoy the drive and, look at the
And
nation.
we've studied stress before too, so we've been learning along the way. Thank you, Tony.
I'm getting better. I'm getting better at that part of my stress that really,
Thank you, Tony. So Martha Pickering got up, so I'll go to you, Martha, in Ohio. What was your takeaway tonight?
Oh, a lot of things. I guess the first one is that she got up there and said what she'd been doing wrong in her profession for 10 years and went on to describe it so powerfully to us so we could learn from it. I thought she was wonderful. The second thing is my son and I are so different, and I'm the stressful one, and he gets himself in stressful, which I never understood this, why he takes the jobs he gets in IT and that, but he seems to feed off of it, grow off of it, learn more, teach other people. And that's because I loved him up so much when he was little and still do. So that's what I took away.
Thank you, Martha. I appreciate that. Marcia Pickering, you're back. Would you like to give your takeaway?
It's been a stressful year. Everybody knows that and stuff. And I have improved a lot since a year ago. I still have a long ways to go. But I do find I have started playing my music again a lot. And before I wasn't playing it. I don't know why I stopped. And I do find that helps me to realize, and I think Connie has really helped me realize that everybody has a lot of stress and it's how we handle it.
Yeah, your body is giving you what you need as long as you, instead of, what was it she said, instead of looking at it as being unhealthy for you, as looking at it as preparing you to handle what it is that your stresses that you're under.
Not letting it take complete control.
Exactly.
And it was.
It does help us instead of a place to illness. Okay, Bird Mom, you're next.
I also was taken back by how she said that stress really isn't bad for your health. It's your thoughts about it that is. But then in the other part of the program, it says that stress creates the cortisol, which does affect your body negatively. So I'm confused a little bit about that.
Okay, I can help you with that.
Yeah.
It is how you think about it. The cortisol is released, and it does have a bad effect, and it's over. And the second one was about when it's chronic. It goes on for a long time.
Yeah.
But then again, the cortisol will act in an appropriate way if you're dealing with the stress in terms of using what the body's producing for you in the way of chemicals to get you through the moment instead of thinking of it as, oh, the stress is killing me.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yes, it does. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
It's back to how you think about it. And Dorothy, we're going to save Denise for last. We'll let you give your feedback now.
Well, stress tires out my brain.
Yeah.
Definitely. I just get to the point where I'm too tired of thinking about it. And I just go one day after the other trying to get through the day. For me, that's how stress affects me.
Did anything in this video give you a new way of thinking?
I don't think so. I think that I've known for a long time that stress is a good way of developing yourself.
Oh, okay. That's a good way to put it.
If you don't allow yourself to be stressed, what are you gaining? You know, you can make your life easy, but what are you gaining? So, but sometimes it's just an overload. Yeah.
And they talk about overwhelm. And Lisa?
I went through a period of extreme stress that was beyond my control. And actually, I needed the stress because I needed to be protecting myself physically. But it did take a toll on my health for the overload of cortisol over an extended period of time. And I really appreciate the science that how you think about stress impacts whether, you know, the effect it has on your body. That's news to me. But for me, I don't experience a lot of stress, and I don't experience stress fully because I've trained myself to recognize what my body's doing when I'm starting to get stressed, so I can stop, challenge, and choose. But now I'm rethinking that as the science shows that the stress and the chemical reactions of the stress are beneficial if you're not thinking depending upon how you're thinking about it. So that was very illuminating for me.
Thank you, Lisa. Denise, you've joined us in our feedback.
Yes. Yeah, that's a lot to mull over. And my job is stressful, and I can tell you the last 2 days has been like over the top. Just because we've been short-handed and, you know, so handling a lot, multi-calls and people, you know, wanting immediate, you know, resolutions for problems that are longer than that. So, you know, always trying to solve problems. I don't know. I feel like I like this because I feel like I've been very stressed in the last couple of years, especially with my job. And I'm thinking, I like the thought of just handling it. I mean, I like that it's okay to be stressed, but yet how you handle the stress is what the theory is. And and I'm a helpful person, so it's not like I don't do those things or, you know what I mean, commit myself to other people. But I don't know. That was a lot. There was a lot of, I don't know.
Information.
There was a lot of information. I need to hear that again.
And it will be posted in the group. And maybe next week, even though this was a lot to consume, we can share next week if it showed up in our week, what we learned.
Yeah, I will definitely re-listen to that because there was just so much and it was so impactful. And seriously, my brain is shutting down. It's the end of the day for me. And I'm like, it just because the days the last 2 days really have. We're short-handed.
You've had a hard, busy day, you said. Yeah. I loved when she said, chasing meaning in your life. Chasing meaning instead is better for your health rather than avoiding difficulty. I thought that was interesting. So even though it's going to be hard, as long as it has a purposeful meaning for you, you will be okay in the end. I love that when she said that. Well, I thank all of you for coming. This will be posted in the room tomorrow. I'll go ahead and end our recording right now.